Hello and welcome to a new tutorial. In this tutorial we are talking about how to knit the Chiemsee Summer top. This is the Chiemsee Summer top. It's my own design and you can buy this pattern on Ravelry. And I thought maybe it is a good idea to knit a second one because I just like it so much. And I thought I will film a tutorial so you can follow easily. And then it should be really doable for everyone, even for total beginners. So let's start. To knit the Chiemsee Summer top or any other garment, or to knit anything after a pattern, I recommend always to print out the pattern. And that way you can make notes. If you don't want to print it, you can use a tablet, a iPad, something like that, where you can write some notes with your pencil. I prefer to print it out and take it with me in the project bag. So on the first page, there's some explanation about the top, that it's worked from the top down, that you work with two panels. So here you can see you have the panels. They are identically from the front and the back. You start with one side, work the other side, join it, and then you start for the other side, work one side, work the other, join it, and then under the armholes it's joined in the round, and then it's knitting in the round. That's what is explained here. I always recommend in the beginning. You have some information. You have the sizes available, what's the bust measurement of the finished top, and which is the positive or negative ease to wear it with, and the gauge. So when you measure your bust measurement, do more than one measurement. Measure it around the bust, on the upper bust, and then take the bigger measurement. So I actually have a bust measurement of, I'm working in centimeters. I live in Germany. I have a bust measurement of 86 centimeters. And it is to wear with a positive ease of 3 to 4 centimeters. So that would leave me in a range of around 89 to 90 centimeters. So I need a top that has this as a finished bust measurement. And that's why I will choose this size, which corresponds to size S. If you have measured this, if you have found this, take a pencil and circle it. I only circle the centimeter measurements because I'm not working in inches. If you're working in inches, please circle the inches. Then there's standing a gauge, and there's standing approximately how much yarn you will use. I used the Nepal yarn from Pasquale. I will use it for this tutorial also. This is the Nepal yarn. It's cotton and linen. It's 60% cotton and 30% linen. You could wash it in the washing machine. And it's recommended to use a 3 to 4 millimeter needle size. I used a 2.5 millimeter needle size because it's not really blooming when you wash it, and I didn't want to have any holes in the fabric, and I just felt that it looks nicer with a 2.5 millimeter needle. So that's what I'm working on. Pasquale is a German yarn brand. You can purchase it directly from Pasquale, which I think is really nice. But you can use any other fingering yarn for this as long as you get gauge. I always recommend to gauge swatch. I know that it's a difficult subject and everyone has its own opinion. I gauge swatch and I make my little sheets that I know exactly what I did here. So I know I did that for the Chiemsee Summer top. I know that I used the Nepal yarn from Pasquale. I wrote down what's the composition of it. I wrote down how many stitches I have, how many rows, and which needle size. So the gauge itself is more an indicator and a recommendation what you should get, but you have to try it on during the process, and it's frustrating if you have knitted so much, try it on and realize it's not fitting and you have to change something. But on the other hand, especially with when you're not really off, when you are around the 28 stitches and 38 rounds, so you have either 27 stitches or 29 stitches or something in between. You can have half stitches in this 4x4 inch range, or you have 39 or 37 rounds. You have here a positive ease. You can always choose another size if you think you're too much off, too low, too high. Choose another size. Try if this will work better, or just think about there is a positive ease. I'm 1.5 stitch over, so I maybe have 28.5 or 29 stitches, so it will a little bit be smaller, the garment, but it's with a positive ease. So maybe I end up with 1 to 2 centimeter positive ease, and it's a summer top, so it's fine for me. Or I have 27 stitches, so it will become a little bit larger, but maybe you like it a little bit larger, so you maybe end up with 4 to 5 centimeters of positive ease, and that's perfect for you. Then it's perfect. If not, maybe you have to work with another needle or working on the tension, but that's mostly not the best idea, because after a few rounds you will always get to your normal tension when you're in the flow. And or you have to think about another yarn if you cannot get gauge with the yarn you have. But besides that, I recommend to gauge swatch, even though I know that it will not be perfect, even though I know you will not get gauge that exactly. I don't get my own gauge in that case. That's why I have written down I have 28 to 30 stitches in this swatch when I measure. But it gives you an idea how the fabric will turn out, yes, and how close you are, and how the garment will fit in these sizes on your body. But you always have to try it on. That's the most important thing about it. Then always treat your gauge swatch as you would treat the garment. So if you want to wash the garment afterwards, then wash your gauge swatch before measuring, because the stitches are more relaxed when they are washed. So your gauge will differ depending on the yarn. I think here with Nepal yarn, doesn't make that much of a difference, especially not in the row gauge. In the stitch gauge, maybe it's more flexible when it's washed, but yeah, that's because of the linen. Linen gets softer over time, so the gauge will change over time. It will get more loose. Yeah, and I measured this right after washing it and drying it, blocking it. But after time, the more I do this, the more I slip my finished top over my head. It will feel different, and it will become more loose, because that's how linen yarn works. Yeah, so, but the moment I have decided size, I can look up how much yarn I will need. You have it in gram per yards or in gram per meters. So I will need 145 grams of the Nepal yarn. If you use the same yarn, it's easy to use the grams as an indicator of how many skeins you have to buy. If you use another yarn, I would recommend more to look after the yards or the meters to give you an indicator of how much yarn you have to buy. Because as long as you use a cotton linen blend that's worked the same as Nepal, you are pretty much good with the indicator in grams. But when you have a yarn that's different, or even not cotton, not linen, but maybe some wool, it will weigh. It has a weight, so it's more precise to use the yardage than to use the weight of the yarn. Then what else is here? You also see that I have calculated the amount of yarn for a cropped version and for a full length version. I will knit the size as in a cropped version. What needle you need, what else you need, and what are the skills you need to knit this. But this is a full tutorial, so we will go through everything at a time. Yes, and here on the next page are the abbreviations, some notes about the turning stitch, because I'm knitting the turning stitch in a special way. Then I have here something about Judy's Magic Cast On. That's the cast on we are using, and the links to the video tutorials in the pattern. So here I have my needle. Sometimes I work with wooden needles, sometimes I work with steel needles. It depends on the garment, it depends on the yarn. Some yarns I think work better with wooden needles, yet some yarns work better with steel needles. And I always keep them in their original package, because then it's easier for me to see what size it is. Because I think sometimes if you knit so much, you lose the print on the needles itself. So I'm better organized, and I think I find my things quicker when I let them in here with the instructions, with the pattern. Here on the first side, we said we want to use size S. That's the first number after I don't know how to call it. I will put it on the screen, but you know what I mean. So size S is this number and this number. So it's saying to knit the front, use your needle. That's the one I use. If you need another needle to get gauge, use this needle. And cast on, depending on your size, stitches in Judy's magic cast on. That's what we will do, and then we will start knitting. As we talked about, just show this first 2 rows. As I mentioned, I have a special technique for the turning stitch. It's this stitch, and then in the end it's turning work. So let us read the instruction for the turning stitch. The turning stitch is worked at the beginning of each row. In the previous row, the work is turned. So just turn it. Then the working yarn is now in front of the work. I will show you this in a minute. Slip 1 stitch using the yarn in front of the work as if to purl. The working yarn is now brought from the front over the right needle to the back, forming a yarn over. So we slip it with the yarn in front, then make a yarn over. And then when you come back on the other side, and you only have the turning stitch and the yarn over together on your needle, you knit them together. And I don't count the yarn over as a separate stitch. So I hope this is clear and understandable, but we will come back to this in a minute when we have cast it on and are making the first turning stitch. So we have to cast on 11 stitches. That's what we will do now. Usually I like to wrap around my needles the amount of stitches I will cast on, but since this is only 11 stitches, we don't need to take so much effort in this. So first your skein is coming from here and your tail is coming here, and you lay it over. I have a complete tutorial on Judy's Magic Cast on YouTube. I will put the link in the description box and on the screen. I hope I will not forget it, so you can see it clearly. But now that's how it will look. We have our first stitch on the needle, and then we're working the tail of yarn over the lower needle and the working yarn over the upper needle, and we will do that for 11 stitches each. So now we have 3 on each needle, and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 9 and 10 and 11. So count again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Perfect. Then rotate. Securing the yarn, pull out the now lower needle. we need stitch markers, 1 and 2. And in the first row, that's the right side. We are working on the right side. It says knit 2. So 1 and 2. Then purl 1, purl 1. It's a bit tight in the beginning, but it will get better. Then knit 1, and again purl 1, and then place a stitch marker. So we will do that. And then it says knit 5 stitches before the end of the row. So since I have the smallest, not the smallest size, XS is the smallest size, but it's the same cast on stitches as for the smallest size. I am now 6 stitches before the end, 1, 2, 4, 6, so I only have to knit 1 stitch, then place again a stitch marker, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 2, and turn work. So now we are on the wrong side. And we will first time work the turning stitch. The turning stitch is worked that way, so we have more, we can stabilize more the edge of the top, and yeah, that's why it's worked that way. So for the turning stitch, you have your yarn in front, and you slip your first stitch with yarn in front, and then you do a yarn over your needle. As you see, it will pull up the legs of your stitch. It's not like in German short rows where you would pull really hard on it. It's just to yeah, make it not as sloppy as you usually would have. So when your stitches are not as sloppy as mine here in the beginning, but more loose, and then it would look like this. So the first stitch here is a bit sloppy because it takes all the yarn from the other cast on side here. So don't pull too much because you will regret it when you pick up the stitches. But yes, you make a yarn over, and then you purl 1, you knit through the back loop, purl 1, you knit through the back loop, you slip the marker, you purl to the marker, oops, you slip the marker, knit through the back loop, purl 1, knit through the back loop, purl 1, purl 2, and turn work. So now we have worked the second row on the wrong side, and now we are to knit the third row on the right side. And here again we have the turning stitch in the beginning. That's what we do. So we have the yarn in front. We will slip the first stitch with yarn in front. We will make the yarn over, and as you see, that stitch is not that sloppy, so I don't need to pull much to stabilize it. You really see here is the stitch, here's the yarn over. Then you knit one, you purl through the back loop, you knit one, oops, knit one, purl through the back loop, slip the marker, knit to the marker, slip the marker, purl through the back loop, knit one, purl through the back loop. And now the pattern says knit two. We have 3 legs on the needle. That's the usual knit stitch here. That's the yarn over, and that's the turning stitch itself. So when it says knit two, or it actually says, oh, I was clever. I just realized in the beginning I just had knit two on a pattern, but now I realize I changed that because I'm clever. So what the pattern actually says is knit one. We will do that. Knit one. And then it says knit turning stitch together. Clever me. I wrote an abbreviation and I now see it also here. I wrote down knit turning stitch together. Knit the yarn over and the turning stitch together. Purl turning stitch together. Purl the yarn and the turning stitch together. I forgot about that. So I wrote it in a pattern. Now the last stitch is the yarn over and the turning stitch. And all you do is go in knit twice and knit it together. That's the magic. Now we will look how this will work on the wrong side. So we are now in row 4. We will slip the first stitch with yarn in front, do the yarn over, purl the first stitch, knit through the back loop, purl the first stitch, knit through the back loop, slip the marker. The markers are have more function in the next section. Purl one, purl to the next marker, knit through the back loop, purl, knit through back loop, purl one, and purl turning stitch together. That's what it says in the pattern. So now I have the yarn over and the turning stitch from the row before, and I will just purl them together. So I bring my yarn in front, go in through both legs and my working yarn purlwise, and then I just purl them together. That's how it's worked on the wrong side. So that is all you need to know to work this section. It says that you have to repeat row 3 and 4 for another amount of times. You do that, I do that, and we will meet on row 5. So now I have knitted row 3 and row 4 3 times again. That's how I note. First time I pass the row by reading this, I just do this. And then I have this repeat, and then when I do it again, I just mark them like this when I go, and that's how I keep track of in which row I am. Okay, so I would recommend to now put the stitches on hold before we go to the next section. I have some scrap yarn, short because it's not many stitches, and a needle. I put them here with my stitch markers, and then we place them on hold. If you don't like to do it on some scrap waste yarn, you can use any kind of cord, of course, but I prefer using my leftover yarns, the ones I cut when I'm joining yarns or something like that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11. That's the amount of stitches I have casted on for my size. And then I just make a notch so it will not fall off. And it's done. So we knit row 5 and 6, and we meet at row 7 where the first increase happens. I forgot to mention, I realized that we are starting with the front left part, so it will go down your left shoulder, and on the front left part we start increasing on the right side. So we have a smaller cutout for the neckline than for the armholes. So we start here on the right side with the increases. On the front right side, it's the other way around. So we knit row 5 and 6 and meet in row 7 again. So I have knitted round row 5 and 6. I'm now in row 7. This row has you have the edge of the top, you have the slip marker. Then on the left side, front left side, you have a make one left, then knit to stitch marker, slip the stitch marker and knit the edge. And that's what we will do now. So as we already did, we slip the first stitch with a yarn over, we knit one, purl one through the back loop, knit one, purl one through the back loop, slip the marker and make one left. So here, some people don't like make one left because it will leave a hole in the fabric. In this case, it's indicated, so it's on purpose that the make one left and make one right are doing some little holes. It's part of the pattern of the top, if you want so. So make one left means I have to put the yarn that's here between the two stitches over my left-handed needle, and that way that this leg here in front will point to the left side. So for make one right, you put it that way so that that leg will point to the right side, and for make one left, you will put it that way on the left needle so it will show point to the left side. And then because it's pointing that way, you have to knit it through the back. Okay, if I make one right, I knit through the front leg. If I make one left, I knit through the back loop. I always choose the leg that's far away from my right hand needle. So it's really easy to remember. The front leg has to indicate the direction. Left leaning, make one left. So this one has to point to the left side. And then knit through the leg that's far away from my right hand needle. So this is nearer, the back side is far away, so I have to knit through back loop. And that's my make one left. And then I just worked around. I knit to my stitch marker, slip my stitch marker, purl through the back loop, knit, purl through the back loop, knit, and knit my turning stitch together. So, and that's it. That was row 7. You will now follow your pattern. So there's a row 8, and then there is some new repeats. How many times you should repeat this to make the increases on the right side of your left front part. And then we will meet again at row 9. When you have worked this section, we will meet on the other section. So see you soon. So now we have finished our repeats, and it says here that we have been increasing a total of 2 stitches, so there should now be 13 stitches on the needle. Then after every increase section, I recommend to count your stitches that you didn't miss anything. And that's what we will do here. So we have 1, 2, 2, 4. I always count in twos, but sometimes it's early in the morning, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And now this is the turning stitch with the yarn over, and both legs count as 1, so 13, and then we are right. For the rest of the project, I started to count differently because I know this here are 5 before the stitch marker. So I always add 6, 1 stitch behind the stitch marker, and losing 1 stitch here will you will notice, because you always have 2 to knit, 1 purl, 1 knit, 1 purl, and you will recognize when you miss 1 stitch. So I always start counting here with 6 and then 8, and then I know 10, 12 and 13, because this is the turning stitch and it's 1 stitch actually. So now on row 9 and 10 is not much happening, but on row 11, let me show you. I just have here to rearrange my several cards. Here on row 11 we have 2 increases. Okay, so you work to the stitch marker, make 1 left, knit to the stitch marker, make 1 right, and then work the edge. And at the end of the section there will also be a repeat section. So you work through this, and then we meet after the repeats of round 12 again. So I'm at my last row 11. I will show you this. Purl one through back loop, knit one, purl one through back loop, slip the marker, and then it says make one left, so to the left, and then knit through the back loop, and then knit to marker, and then make one right. So we take this strand, put it over the needle right leaning, and then we knit through the front leg, slip the marker and work the edge. Then I have to do one row 12 again, and then you have the rows 13 and 14, which are basically the rows 11 and 12. So you have the repeat section where you make the increase not every 4th row but every 2 rows. I guess you can manage that without me. I have to count again my stitches just to be sure. I now should have 17. So I have 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. I don't have the yarn over from the turning stitch because I'm on the wrong side working at the moment, so my turning stitch with the yarn over is on this side. Yes, so I have 17 stitches on the needle, which is great. And now you have to do the repeat section of rows 13 and 14. After that we will meet again, because then we will place the stitches on hold for the front left part, because then you have finished the front left part after repeating rows 13 and 14, and we will work the front right. So do your increase row 13 and 14 as many times as you need to. Count your stitches afterwards, and then we will place the stitches on hold together and make the cast on for the second panel of the front. So I will meet you there. I have finished now the first front panel, and that's how this place looks like when I know how many repeats I have done. And now the pattern says to place the stitches on hold and leave the stitch markers on the yarn. Cut the working yarn. So what we will do now is place the stitches on hold and leave them where they are, because we need them when we later join the second front panel. So I have here some waste yarn and my needle, but first I will cut the working yarn. So I leave a bit of a tail so I can weave it in, and I do that straight away. And that's because we have here this edge created by turning stitches and yarn overs, same as here. Here we have had our last turning stitch with yarn over when we worked the wrong side. Now when we join, we work the right side. That we have that even edge, even if we're joining later. I now weave first in this end and then I place it on hold. And since when I would work this alone, this panel, I would now work on the right side. I would slip this stitch and do a yarn over. And that's what we now do. So I have the yarn in front here. I go over the needle and now I'm weaving in here the ends. I go in here. If it lets me, and then walk here through. Go here in the edge, in the ribbing, and since the summer yarns usually are a bit slippier than other yarns, I try to reach the panel and not just stay here, and then I work here through the wrong side here and go through this pearl bumps. Look, they come out here. So it went diagonally here through, and now pull so that the yarn over looks good. More. So it will just look like a usual yarn over. Then I go back, so I follow this bump here, and then go back this direction. There's different techniques in doing this. I prefer this one. Go out here. Make sure that your needle will not peek through here. So do it just on the back side, on the wrong side. And then once again I follow this bump here, go in here, I mean, it will not go off, it definitely will not, but I don't know, I'm a scary person, I'm always afraid. I spend so much time in knitting something and then just the ends go off. That would be a nightmare, so I rather be safe. Yes, so you cannot tell from the front where I have woven in the end, and how it will look on the wrong side. So we went here and here and here, but you cannot really tell in the end, even when you've blocked it afterwards. It will not really be visible. So, and then you can cut it, but I recommend not to cut it directly here. I would do that after blocking, because sometimes when you stretch it, and then it goes out. So I cut the working yarn here, or the end, the tail of the end working yarn, and then I have this little tail left. I block it and then I will cut it. So, and now I'm ready for placing the stitches on hold. So I take my needle again. You can use any cord or whatever you prefer to do that, but I usually do it that way. Then I don't need any additional tools. I'm using just my leftover yarns, and as you can see, when you weave in the ends, usually you always have some leftover yarns, and I just have a box to carry them. So the yarn over and the turning stitches, 1, 2, 3, 5, and then also the marker. It's a good opportunity to count again your stitches. I will now put them on my scrap yarn, waste yarn, and meet you in the end. And we're done with the first panel. It says that only in the front. So this panel things is always for both the front and the back. So we will work it again. So only when you're working the front, you now have to do again Judy's Magic cast on, as we did for the other panel. And then you just work again a panel like this, but you have different increases here because this is the front left panel, so you will have the front right panel coming here, and we did other increases here than we did here. So we now will have here other increases than we did here, so pay attention on this. Otherwise, it's the same as we worked on the first panel. So I would suggest you work the first panel until you reach here, this. So you have done your repeats, okay? And now it's picking up the stitches from the front left panel again. So you work the panel, you did all your repeats, you are on the right side again, and then we meet here, okay? So see you soon or in a few days, however long it takes you to knit, and then we will talk about joining the front left and the front right panel. I have now finished the second front panel, so I have now this one still on my needle, and this one, and now we want to join them for the front panel, and for that we will look in the pattern. It now says that you should pick up the held stitches of the front left. That's this one, we need to do first one. On the next row, you first knit the stitch of the front right panel. So the front right panel is that what we have on the needles. And then the stitches of the front left, so the whole held stitches. So when we knit this panel in this direction, we first knit this panel, and then afterwards we knit this and join them here in the middle. That's what we want to do now. So I can now just start here and then put this one on the needle, or I just do it first, and that's what I prefer. So here is my working yarn. The last row was a wrong side row, so here's my working yarn. So now I can do the turn stitch for the right side. So this is what we have to knit first. So we put it here on the needle, not too far that it will not go off, but far enough that we know this is the side we want to knit first. And then this one has to lay like this. So I take the other side of my circular needle and start here. So it will have the right side facing me. And then I start up here picking up the stitches. So okay. So now I have all my stitches on the needle. I will now count that I really have all the stitches. So 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Okay, so I didn't lose any stitches while transferring it back on the needle. So now I can ta-da! And before I start knitting, I still have a look that it's now right. So that's how it should look. You have both panels on your needle. This is the panel you knitted last. This is the panel you knitted first. And now they're ready to join here in the middle. So you follow your instructions for join front or join back, and then we will meet again at the point where you reach your second stitch marker. Okay, so you just knit across the first panel until this stitch marker, and then we will meet again. Okay, now you should be before your second marker. So I have knitted the panel across the panel, and now I'm here. Don't forget to do your increase right here. As we join it, we still do our increases on both sides. So now slip the marker, and then it's purl through the back loop, knit, purl through the back loop, and knit. So now we look again at our instruction, because when we are here in the first row for joining, here is this knit two together in brackets join. So this is what we will do now. We will join this, and we will look at the beginning, if I find the right page, with the abbreviations. Yes, this is here. So here we have this knit two together join, knit two stitches together. Yes, that it's a joining decrease. Knit the turning stitch together with the first stitch of the second piece. So we have now here knitted 4 stitches of our ribbing. We now have still the turning stitch on the needle. This is the yarn over, this is the turning stitch, and those two are now knitted together with the other side. The moment I have put those stitches on hold, I took my stitch and did the yarn over here. I took the working yarn, did the yarn over, and then wove in the end here. Yes, so I actually tried to mimic a full turning stitch at this point. So here I now have the turning stitch, the mimicked yarn over, knit, purl, knit, purl. So what we now actually do is we are knitting 2 turning stitches together, which means that we have 4 legs that we need to knit together. If you didn't do here the yarn over when you have put them on hold and wove in the ends, that's no problem. You then just take the first stitch on this side with the turning stitch on this side, and if you have done it like me, then you have 4 legs you're now knitting together. It's just go in on the 4th leg, knit twice. It's fiddly, it's a lot of legs. Then just wrap the yarn and come back, and that's the knit two together join, but in our case it's knitting 2 turning stitches with 2 yarn overs together. So, and now you can just follow the pattern. So knit, purl through back loop, knit, purl through back loop, slip the marker, don't forget your increase, knit across the second panel. On the back side, you just follow your, on the wrong side, you just follow the pattern, so you just knit the stitches as they appear. Then on the next row on the right side, you knit across the first panel until the second stitch marker, and there we will meet again. So I can show you the double decrease, the centered double decrease we do here, and then you're good to go for this section, I think. So see you in a minute. We are now in row 3 of the joining section. I have knitted on the right side across the first panel, and I am before the second stitch marker. Now don't forget to make your increase, and slip the marker, and now we have purl 1 through the back loop, knit 1, purl 1 through the back loop, and now we have 3 knit stitches on the needle. On the next right side you will have a purl stitch, a knit stitch, a purl stitch, which you will also knit with a CDD together. So now we are doing the centered double decrease, so we knit those 3 stitches together so that we have the centered stitch lying above the other both stitches. So what we will do now is 1, 2 on the second stitch. We will go in knitwise through both stitches and just slip them on the right hand needle. Then the third stitch we will knit, and then we will pass over both slip stitches, and then we have the middle stitch, the centered stitch, lying above the other both stitches, and then we have this clear line in the end, in the middle. That's what we want. And now we can just knit, go through back loop, knit, purl through back loop, slip your marker, remember your increases, and you can knit through your panel. On the next row you now can see, so you do the wrong side, you finish the right side, you do the wrong side, and you come back on the right side. You will now have here a purl stitch, a knit stitch, a purl stitch. But for a CGD you do the same. We want only knit stitches here on the front line. So you slip those 2 stitches knitwise on your right hand needle, then you knit the purl stitch, and then you pass those 2 stitches over the knitted purl stitch, and then you have here in the middle your decrease line. And that's what you do, and that's all the magic for the whole section. So you now will knit until row 10, so including row 10, and after row 10 we will meet again. Okay, so see you then. I have now worked the join section here, so now we have a complete front panel. What we will do next depends on your size. When we have a look at our instructions, we have 4 sizes: L, XL, 2XL and 3XL only. Means if you're knitting a size smaller than L, so XSS or M, you just head away to this here. Maybe I should indicate that even more, or just put it on the other side here to the knit back, because you should place stitches and hold, and that's not really clear that after the repeats you have to put them on hold. So the moment you purchase that pattern, that will be corrected. Now when you don't have to work these extra rows, it's mainly to get more space under the underarm. So maybe this would be a good time to put on the front panel. The line here, wait for it, this line here, it will not be exactly in the middle of your shoulder. It will be a bit more to your collarbone on the shoulder. When you hold it there, you can then so this one goes to the collarbone on your left shoulder, this goes to the collarbone on your right shoulder, and then you can hold it under your underarm and can have a look if it's deep enough and if it is wide enough, large enough, so it can fit you. If not, this is the place where you can adjust it a bit. So you can just work more rows, do more increases here, so you become larger and deeper, and then it will fit you perfect. If you now have the feeling that it is large enough but not deep enough, you can work more of this part on the back side, because with the Judy's Magic cast on, you cannot tell in the end where you start. You can actually, because it's slightly off the row, but when you wear it, you cannot tell. We will see this in the end, or in a moment when we pick up the stitches. So you could just get this all a little bit deeper, or more space here, in then doing a few more straight lines in this part. If you just need to have the armholes deeper and not larger in size, so if you're maybe slightly off with the row gauge or something like that, you could do it the other way. When you have the feeling it's too deep because of your row gauge, you don't want to have this deep V neckline, then you can use here a shorter part when you do the back section. And as I said, if you want to have it deeper on the armholes and larger in the width, then it would be a good idea here to just add some more few rows with the decreases. So it's just like you knit here the panel, you can now knit the front panel like this. So knit the ribbing, do an increase here, knit across the panel, do an increase here, and knit the ribbing. That's how you can easily adjust the size of this pattern so it will perfectly fit in the end. But I knit size S, and in size S I don't need any further increases. Since it is my pattern, I know that this will fit me the way it should. So I will just do as written, and that means for me I now have to place the stitches on hold and then work the back. I will that do off camera, but as I did it here in the left front panel, I will do it with the whole front panel also. I will take this yarn, do a yarn over, and weave in the end here. So when I have knitted the back panel and join in the round, that it will have the same edge and not be here slightly thinner in the end, because then it's more stable when you knit it together. So I'll place them on hold, and then I meet you again when we pick up the stitches for the back panel. So I am finished with placing the stitches on hold. I left the two stitch markers, the two remaining stitch markers in place. So when we will join in the round, we will do, we actually will do the same as we did here. So we will need them. And now we are, we can now start with knitting the back. And in the pattern, it just says pick up the amount of stitches held on the right front shoulder for the right back. So after knitting the front, so we first knitted the front left panel, then we knitted the front right panel and joined them. Now we are starting with the back right panel. To know where you have first, just pick up the stitches, lay it flat in front of you, left front, right front. And now we're beginning with the back right panel, and this is this one here. Okay, because it's mirrored to this one. The back will actually look this afterwards. So the front left panel will be your back right panel, and that's why we pick up the stitches on this side to work the back. After we have done that, we can just continue the instructions again from the beginning. So you pick up stitches here, you knit this panel, you put the stitches on hold, you pick up stitches here, you knit this panel, you join those two panels. You maybe need to do the same rows here as you did here, and then we're good to join it around. So I'll show you how I pick up the stitches. So I have picked up my stitches. I go through with the needle because we will work the right side first. Get rid of my waste yarn. I prefer working with waste yarns because I always have some scraps somewhere. I even use them when I don't have any stitch markers at hand. So I make a little loop with a notch and then put them as a stitch marker. I probably should have not. And the winner is, yes. Whew. So I'll take my new working yarn. I always prefer to wrap it around the ring finger on the right hand side to secure it a bit, and then I realize I have it in the wrong direction. I have the right panel. I'm on the right side of the panel, but to work the right side, we now have to turn it this way. So go through there. Take the working yarn, leave it tail to weave in. I wrap around my ring finger, and then it's again knit one stitch and a second purl, knit, 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 purl, place a stitch marker, knit to 5 stitches before the end of the row, 2, 4, 5, place another stitch marker, and then purl, knit, purl, knit 2, and turn around. So now this one is a bit loose. There's no securing right now. You can leave it like that for the moment. You can tie them together for working, or you just now weave in already this end to that panel or to that edge here. It would be the easiest way to just put it through the edge, then it will not go off. In my case, I most of the time just let it stay there and do it a little bit later, but depends on you how afraid you are to lose it. Yes, then you work the wrong side and you just continue as indicated in the pattern. You work the back right panel, then you put the stitches on hold, then you pick up the stitches on this side, work the back left panel, join them both, and when you have joined and are ready to join in the round, we will meet again. And now we are joining out. So we move on. We're starting here. And now we get stitches that way. The back panel, we're going to last. This is the first. And then the front panel is joined. So it goes here. Be sure to don't twist it. So wait, just like that way. Now we can pick up stitches. Okay. So now we can first knit the back, join back and front, knit the front and join here. But we first start with a few preparing stitches. Just have to so we first do some preparing stitches. Knit your turning stitch with yarn over, knit one, purl through back loop, knit one, purl through back loop, and then remove the marker and replace it with a beginning of the round marker. So the round starts now here. I don't have any special markers, so I just chose one in another color. That's why my other stitch markers have all the same color. So I now can see here's the beginning of the round marker, and it's not my usual marker for indicating where to do the increases. So now we do our make one left, and then we knit across front panel. And when you have reached the first stitch marker again, here on the end of the front panel, we meet again. I now knit it to the stitch marker through the back panel. And now don't forget to make your increase, make one right, slip the stitch marker, purl one through the back loop, knit one, purl one through the back loop, knit one. Now I have the turning stitch from the one panel, and I did here the same thing as I did when joining the two front panels. So now we are joining. Be careful to knit just those two together, have to be knit together. So I have here done the same thing as for joining the two front or two back panels. I took the end of the working yarn, did a yarn over here on a turning stitch, and then wove in the end. So I have my turning stitch here. That's the yarn over the turning stitch from this panel, and I have my turning stitch and yarn over from this panel, and then I have the knit purl. So if you have also done this, you have now 4 legs to knit together. If you didn't do this, you have 3 legs to knit together. Be careful. You need knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one left on the needle after joining. So now I will join this. Knitting 2 turning stitches together, which means 4 legs. So that's joined. Then I can knit one through back loop, knit one through back loop, slip the marker, and don't forget to make a left leaning increase, and then it's just knitting to the next stitch marker where we will meet again. I have now reached the next marker, Don't forget to make your making right. Slip the marker. Do a purl through back loop, knit one, purl through back loop, knit one. Now we have to join again. Here you have this turning stitch and this turning stitch. At least now everyone should have this, because this was a usual turning stitch and this was a usual turning stitch without weaving in any ends. So you have now 4 legs, 1 yarn over, 1 turning stitch, 1 turning stitch, 1 yarn over, and we join them, go through knitwise, wrap the yarn, come back, and it's joined. So we knit one, we purl one through back loop, we knit one, we purl one through back loop, and we are at the beginning of the round marker. Since we are now working on in the round, we don't have a wrong side to work on, and that's why we do these steps of joining and increasing as we did on the front and the back panel here, just every second row. So we have now 1 row where we just knit. We don't do any increases and we don't do any knit togethers. We are just knitting the stitches as they appear. I tell you a little trick. So I know when the stitch marker, when the beginning of the round marker is purple, I know I have to do all my increasing stuffs. And now I join it with a yellow. First pointers, now I really can tell this is the beginning of the round marker. Not the green ones, they're just the stitch markers for the edge part. And this is the beginning of the round marker. If it is purple, I have to do all the increases and knit togethers. If it is yellow, I just knit. So now I know I just have to knit, which means I don't do increases, I just knit. Now I knit across the back, and I'll meet you at the next stitch marker. I have knitted the back panel and have reached the next stitch marker. Since we are, I have to look, we are on the yellow row, which means we don't do any increases or knit togethers, we're just knitting as they appear. We now can just slip the stitch marker without making any increases. Purl one through the back loop, knit one, purl one through the back loop, knit one, knit two, knit three, purl one through the back loop, knit one, purl one through the back loop, slip the stitch marker and just knit without making an increase, just knit. You will do the same on the other side, and we meet at the beginning of round marker again. I reached the beginning of the round marker. Now I again have to change from yellow to purple, and that's the round. We're doing all the increases. So first we make one left, and then we do our centered double decrease. So we knit now to the next stitch marker. As I mentioned, don't forget your increase here. Knit to the next stitch marker, and we will meet there. I have reached the stitch marker, and I can have a look. I am in the purple round, so that means I have to do the increases and the decreases. So I make one right, I then slip the marker, pull one through back hook, knit one, pull one through back hook, and now I knit those three together and do a centered double decrease. So I slip those both knitwise, knit the third one and pass over one, two. Same as we did on the joining from front and back panels. So that's how it looks. Then I can go through the back loop, knit, purl through the back loop, slip the marker, and make one left increase, and knit to the next marker. And that's all the magic, that's all we do. So you have one row where you do the increases and the standard double decreases, and on any other row you just knit all the stitches as they appear until you have joined them the same way you have here. At this point you just remove the marker except for the beginning of the round marker. I will then also remove the yellow one and just keep the purple one, and then you knit pure stockinette till you have reached the length of the top that you want to have, and that's where we meet again. One tip: if you measure here on the underarm. If you measure the length of the top on the underarm, you start measuring here on this point, so you don't, it will look the same afterwards. So imagine this one is here, you don't measure here at the end of the joining section, you measure here. Yes, the measurement for the they are indicated in the pattern, they start measured from here, not from this point. Okay, but try it on. When you have finished the section here of joining the edge, it would be a good time to try on your top and see how it really fits. Because then you don't have that much to unravel to adjust anything, either on the width or on the length of your garment. If you have knitted all the way down to the hem and then realize that it will not fit, that would be really bad. So do your edge joining here, try it on, and then knit to the end of the body, and there we will meet again. Before I let you go and knit the whole body, I will show you how to join another ball of Nepali yarn, because this cotton linen blend is a bit slippery, so it would be a good idea to overlay them for 2 stitches, and how to do that I will show you. So I have here a little bit of yarn left from the old ball of yarn, and I have here my new rolling up, because Nepal comes in hanks. You don't have to, but it is easier to work with if you have rolled a cake or a ball out of this. So now I will take another tail of yarn, and I will place the yarn that's now coming from a new ball like this, and I'll take the yarn that is coming from my work, the old yarn tail, like this, and then I take both yarns overlaying and wrap it around my finger. I can secure the new tail here with my ring finger. I place a stitch marker before I knit those 2 stitches. So when I come again around in the next row, I know that this is where I joined the yarn, because otherwise sometimes I forget and then I do accidentally increases, which I don't want. So I place the stitch marker that I know, okay, here's happening something. Then I knit this knit stitch and wrapping both yarns around my needle for 1 stitch for the second stitch, and then I place the second stitch marker, because when I have a garment where I have several stitch markers in there because it is so much happening, it is easier for me to realize, this is where I joined the yarn in the last round. And then I can let go of this tail, and I can let go of this tail as well. And then I'm just knitting, and maybe you can hear the neighbor's baby cry outside. It's really hot today, so everyone has his doors and windows open. I'm sorry for that. I will knit now the 1 round, and then we will meet again when we're back here. I have now knitted my round, and I'm back at my stitch marker that tells me, be careful, here you did join your yarn. So I will remove that, and then I knit those 2 together, and I knit those 2 together, and then I get rid of my stitch marker, and now I can just knit further. I will now look at the inside. You can pull it a bit tight, and I actually prefer to weave in the ends now, because I'm no fan of finishing project, and so I can show you it directly how to work it. So you can do it now or later as you prefer. It will not go off in the moment. So take your needle with your yarn, and then I'm looking in which direction the yarn goes. So this one goes that way and this one goes that way. That was the direction we joined those 2. So this is the tail of yarn of the old ball, and this is the tail of yarn from the new one. And now I'm just weaving in under this purl bumps on the wrong side fabric, same as we did when we wove in the end on the front and back panel. So I'm going here in a diagonal then I go out here, and you can control here that the needle will not appear in front, so you don't have this woven end in front. Then you can pull through, and I will kind of duplicate now one of the spur stitches here and go back like this. I will do that for both. Turn it, it's easier. Try not to lose your stitches up here, and then you can weave it in like this. I do that usually 3 times, so down, up, and down again, and then does not go up. And here, have a look, nothing appears. Pull through, and then I go back up again, and then it is really secure. I mean, this would be enough, but yes, I'm on the safety side. I always think when I've knitted something for that amount of hours, I really want them to be safe. Better safe than sorry, right? So up here again, looks good, and then don't tangle anything, and I will cut the rest of it. I will leave a bit of an end here, then I will block it, and afterwards you can cut it on the surface if you want. You don't have to. I sometimes don't do it if it's not peering out in the front somewhere. It can stay here a bit longer on the wrong side, because I think it's a handmade garment. I knit it for myself, not for a present. I don't mind just little stains, and then I'm pretty sure that it will not go through here, and I don't have to pull it somewhere again. It will stay just there, and here I don't mind. On the upper part here, I need to cut it further down, so it will not go out here like this. When I wear it, that would be not so pretty, but otherwise I don't mind when it looks a bit out. Yes, now you're good to go. Oh no, one thing I wanted to show you before I let you go, and that's how everything is tangled on this. That's how you measure your length for how far you have come. So what you will do is lie this as flat as possible. You're working on it, and I don't think it is worth it to put it on some rubber cord or waste yarn for just measuring it if you don't want to try it on. You can always try it on. You should try it on the go. And now I have to look. You should try it on the go, so you can knit the length you prefer. But when you want to know what I'm measuring in my instructions, I would do it like that. So I have here my measuring tape, band, ruler, whatsoever, what you have on hand. I lay it flat, so I don't stretch it too much in one or the other direction. I try to lay it as flat as possible. It will have some bumps here because it's working around, and the fabric from the other side is underneath, but lay it as flat as possible. Measure it under the arm. So I'm here under the armpit, pit, that's where I come out here. It's not the front part, that would be here. It looks the same, but best thing is you do it where your beginning of the round marker is, here, up here, because then you're pretty sure you're under the arm. Or just control, if you have this loop here going down, that's when you're under the arm and not in the front. And then I lay it flat, take my measuring tape directly under the needle, laying it here under, trying to get right the follow of the fabric, and then I measure until here. Okay, until here, not until here where the end of the ribbing is. So it's not 16 centimeters, but it's more like 18.5 centimeters. And that's what I measure. So if you read the instructions, you should knit this long to finish your body. I measure it from here to here. Okay, so, and now I really think you're good to go to knit the body, and we will meet for the hem section again. I have now knitted the body and reaching the hem. In the pattern you have 3 different options. You could do now a ribbing. Either you do a usual 2x2 ribbing, 1x1 ribbing, or you opt for the version with 5 knit stitches and 1 purling through the back loop, so you have a more stockinette looking if you prefer, and then bind off with the Italian bind off. Or you could do a folded hem. Then you would knit until the end, purl 1 row, knit up, and then bind off on the inside, or bind off and sew it on the inside. Since I have a very stiff yarn with the Nepal yarn I'm using, it is a cotton linen blend, I will opt for the version where you knit 2 centimeters longer and then directly bind off with the Italian bind off. But to make it, to prevent it from purling, because if you would now just bind off, you would have a bit of rolling up. And to prevent this, there are these 2 to 4 preparation rounds to make it more tubular and to prevent it from rolling up. If you have a stiff yarn, that works really good. I have made a video tutorial on how it works in particular. I will link it up here, but I will show you the technique here. So I'm at the end of my last row, and now I will slip the beginning of round marker, and I will knit the first stitch and slip the second one with yarn in front. So I will knit the first stitch, bring the yarn in front, and slip the next one. Then knit the next stitch and slip the next one. What we will actually do now with this is we will knit a tube, so we switch to double knitting if you want. So in the first row and first round, we will knit the first stitch and slip the second one with yarn in front. And in the next round, I'll show you in a minute, we will slip the first stitch with yarn in back and purl the second one, so that we have a knit stitch in the front and in the back, and the yarn is going in between. So we're switching every second stitch to go the other way around if you want. And that's how you can prevent it from rolling up, because it's not pure stockinette anymore. You are switching to double knitting, and yes, this works pretty fine. So at least if you have a stiff yarn, this works good. If not, you should do some kind of ribbing here. I talked in my podcast about it with the 100% cotton yarn I used for the kids version, and there this 4 rows were not enough to prevent it from rolling. So it depends on your yarn which option you here want to use. But again, first round, so knit 1 and slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1 and slip 1 with yarn in front. I will do that for the rest of the round and then meet you again. I am now at my last 2 stitches in the first preparation round, so knit it and slip it with yarn in front and pass over the beginning of round markers. So in this round we will purl every second stitch and slip the first one with yarn in back. So I'm now going in purlwise, slip the knit stitch with yarn in back, bring the yarn in front and purl it. So slip the knit stitch purlwise with yarn in back, bring yarn in front, oops, and purl. Slip the knit stitch purlwise with yarn in back, bring yarn in front and purl it. And that's what we will do till the end of the round, and then we see again. And now I'm on the last 2 stitches for the second preparation row, so round. So slip the knit stitch with yarn in back, bring yarn in front, purl, slip this marker, and now we are doing the first round again. So we are knitting the first stitch and slip the second one. With yarn in front, we really want to make this tube, so we will repeat those 2 rounds. So this round is again knit 1 and slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1 and slip 1 with yarn in front. And when you do that now the second time, you really can feel that you have 2 fabrics. One fabric is going in front of your needle and one fabric is going behind your needle, and that's what we want to achieve. So we are only knitting the front stitches now and slipping the back stitches, and in the next round again we're slipping the front stitches and knitting the back stitches or purling the back stitches. So you will do that now. You will do 1 row round. We are working in the round. You will now do 1 round with knitting the first stitch and slipping the second stitch with yarn in front. Afterwards you will do the next round with slipping the first stitch with yarn in back and purling the second one. Round, so I'm slipping the first stitch with yarn in back and purling the second one, and then I'm stretching it out a bit on my needle so it will not be too tight, knitting only every other stitch. It can become a bit tighter, that's why I stretch it out a bit. In that way I prevent it from being too tight, because that would be not really comfortable when wearing it. but I don't make it too loose because I want it to prevent from rolling. So I want a really straight look. And yes, so I have purled the last stitch, and now I can remove this because we will now do an Italian bind off. So I'm here getting the width of my project properly, and then you need to estimate the yarn you will need for this. So you wrap it around one time, two times, three times at least. But since I ran out of yarn when I was knitting the top for my mother-in-law, I'm going at least 4, better safe than sorry, 4.5 times. And then cut the yarn and pick up your needle. And yes, now you have a really long tail when binding off a hem with the Italian bind off. That's sometimes a bit ugly to do because you have to pull through so much yarn. I mean, I usually just lay it double for a really long time when I'm then adjust the length while going. So in order now to do the Italian bind off, I put one needle out because we don't need that at the moment. And then you need to do 2 preparation steps before the pattern begins. So you go in purlwise in the first knit stitch and pull it through. As I mentioned, I have a full video tutorial on how to do this without being tangled in your needle here. I hoped I had it done out of the way, but it was not enough. So go in purlwise in the first knit stitch, then go around with the yarn, so like this, and come between the knit and the purl stitch from behind to the front with your needle, pull through, without getting any knots, which is the hardest part with the length of tail, and then go knitwise in this purl stitch, so like this. Can you see this? Like this, purlwise, knitwise in the purl stitch, pull through, and those were the 2 steps for preparing to use the Italian bind off. And now it's a pattern repeat. So you go in knitwise in the knit stitch, pull through and drop the stitch. Then you go purlwise in the next knit stitch. So it's the second stitch on your needle now. In the next knit stitch, go purlwise in, pull through and keep it. Then go in purlwise in the purl stitch that's now in front, pull through and drop it, and then go between, now we have the knit stitch in front and the purl stitch as a second stitch, go in between those stitches, pull through go knitwise in the purl stitch, so knitwise this way, and keep it. And then the pattern starts again. So knitwise in the first knit stitch and drop it, purlwise in the next knit stitch and keep it. Purlwise in the first purl stitch and drop it. Drop it. Between the stitches and knitwise in the purl stitch, keep it. So it's always the same. And now we start again with knitwise and the knit stitch and drop it. So, and that's how it works. And we will do this till the end of the round, and then I show you how to finish it. I'm now at my last few stitches, so I have to go in twice and drop it, go in purlwise, go in purlwise, and drop it, and then go between the last two stitches, go in knitwise, go in knitwise and drop it. And in order to close this little gap here in the end, this is the last or the first knit stitch of the row of the round, and I go here in purlwise as like we would have go into when it was the next stitch on the needle, and then I go through the last stitch purlwise in, and now we can, oops, and my needle is gone, and now we can weave in the end on the inside, just like we always do. So don't do it too tight, and then you have your finished bind off. Now you can block it and wear it, and we are done. I hope you liked the tutorial, and I really hope that you're now able to knit the Chiemsee Summer top and that you really enjoy your version of it. I'm so excited to see all the versions you are making, so don't forget to tag me when you are posting some photos on Instagram or something like that. I'm orblinger.maschen on Instagram. And yes, I hope I see you next time. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, happy knitting.